Welcome to Hybrid, the Future of Work podcast with me, Shane McGrath, and I'm joined here on the show today with Alicia Greene, who is a flex office consultant over at Knight Frank. Alicia, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Shane, for having us. Obviously, it's a great opportunity for us to kind of talk about the whole hybrid working revolution and I suppose our side of the sector too.
Yeah, of course, and I'm delighted. First guest on the show is someone here as well, a dub within Ireland. You're only down the road from me, so it's quite nice here. I feel like we're connected on this one, so yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
Um,
no pressure being the first one at all.
Yeah, look, we're setting the bar high. But look, I think the first question, Alicia, probably for anyone who perhaps is outside the flex office space looking into this podcast, has front of their mind, what is a flex office?
Yeah, so obviously there's kind of, I suppose, there's since COVID, it's obviously become a buzzword, obviously within commercial property. I think there is this sort of idea out there that it only really came to the forefront of people's minds following COVID, but definitely it's been around for many, many years. So basically, what a flexible office space is, it's a fully serviced office solution. So basically, what we do in the market is we offer clients, startups, entrepreneurs, also large enterprise companies, the option to have, a fully fitted, fully furnished, great office space in a central location, but obviously on flexible terms. So that can be anywhere from 3 months, 12 months, all the way up to 3 to 5 years. But within that, obviously, the big thing there is offering the flexibility, which is obviously in the name, but we are seeing now more and more clients with the return to office as well, that it is proving to be, a very popular choice with office occupiers.
Makes sense. And obviously, like, COVID accelerated the growth of hybrid, and flex office seemed to have a bit of a buzz before COVID. Everywhere we look in LinkedIn now, that buzz seems to have skyrocketed. Like, I see a
Yeah.
lot of people talking about it. So, like, in your opinion, like, what is it about the flex office space that is appealing to those who've moved into this new hybrid working model?
Yeah, so I think, Shane, to be honest, the biggest thing at the moment is that it offers clients the ability to really take, control of where they are going in terms of their office space. I think for them, given, the whole pandemic and things like that, the biggest thing that people wanted to be able was to be, in a secure setup, but also we've also learned that as well, businesses can thrive really, really well in times of adversity, but also there are other firms that maybe didn't get the funding that they needed, didn't achieve the growth, couldn't find the right staff, and maybe they've had to scale down or look to other regions. So I think that's one of the biggest things. I think the fact that the occupiers we speak with just walk in and everything is ready made, everything is there, the furniture, the design, but also at the same time, these are, there's a lot more, I suppose, move to the use of technology and tech enabled buildings. And then on the same side of that is as well is that you're part of, a common community, that, you have your own company culture within your four walls, but also you are part of an individual, little ecosystem of like-minded individuals, and you have those sort of synergies, and that's the whole other side of it, is the what lies beyond the four walls.
Wow. Sorry, I'm just, there's a lot there to digest in that, isn't there? I'm hearing there's like lots of things whizzing around in my head because, again, from our own conversations we have, like you're using words like when we're talking about the communities and stuff there, Alicia, and I think like that's what I see success when we're looking into those offices is really going on beyond the four walls and building out, yeah, as you say, those communities, the neighbourhoods, the spaces from within that, and how the people engage in them. I don't know, communities is just one of those words really front of mind for me that's like, it has positive feelings, positive vibes when we start thinking about communities.
Yeah, and I think as well, you touched on it there, our sort of side of the sector being more and more spoken about. It's nearly, you can look on, I haven't gone past any sort of major publication, online or in print that hasn't spoken about this, that, we are creating what they call now the third space. So it's between, the corporate culture that you have, it's also, meeting other people, through a less informal way of,
Yeah.
I suppose, interacting with others, and that you want to really harness, obviously the business side, the synergies, the networking, but also that you're offering something to your staff to make them want to come in, to be in a space that, are really proud of and can be brand advocates of, which helps you hire, but also at the same time that, I suppose, fosters a certain atmosphere of, the holistic side to it, the community spaces, how you're being looked after, your well-being, and all of those sort
Mm.
of things, which really plays into, the retention, but also in making the office a very relevant place to be, not just for work, but everything else that it includes.
I love it. And when we're talking about the employees from within that space, then, right? So your day to day throughout the year, when we are looking at providers offering sort of the clients and the potential
Yeah.
occupiers, what are they offering them to support their teams who are split between that physical office and then working on a hybrid basis? What do you see?
I think for them, the biggest things that we've seen the providers, really offer tenants is, that they want to work with them. So, a lot of the times people will come to us and say, I need an office for 40 people. And I'll say to them, okay, but what's your actual, head count? Because there's no point,
Mm.
you want to be able to offer everybody, our big aim would be to get everybody back in. Obviously, that's going to be a
Yeah.
bit more of a gradual. And we work with people on those policies to kind of plan for that in future plans. So I think, them saying, listen, how many staff? They want to learn more about your business. So if that's offering
Mm.
additional key cards that say you might have an office for 40 people, but, 100 people have access to that office. And that's why I suppose tech solutions like yours are very, very, helpful, because it helps them bridge that gap. You don't want to make, the office a space that not everybody feels they can come to, but you also want
Mm.
them to feel like they're not being forced in the return to office. We know that that's not working. I think as well the tech really has helped, that they can then see from that, even as simple as a swipe card, that they can see the footfall that's coming in. So
Mm.
whether that's really high or that's really low, that's another thing that they can feed back and give that sort of data and the intel. I think on the other side as well, a lot of them now, we're seeing a lot of the providers really are investing. They have community teams on the ground, but sometimes
Mm.
people don't want to leave the office. So they're offering
Yeah.
them the likes of their own personal app. So if you
Mm.
need a meeting room at a minute's notice, you book it. Or if you have 5 board meetings in a year, your office manager can go in and do that. If you need
Yeah.
catering, if you want to see, a lot of them have calendars for workshops, seminars, future development that they're really investing in. You have that. So, you have a whole dashboard of the client, and that you really feel like whether you're the CEO or you're the
Mm.
office manager, you have full visibility on the space, and you can really, I suppose, make it your own, but really get engaged with the space, the community that you're part of, and you offer that to your teams as well. So I think it's very much, it's a two-sided approach between the occupiers and the providers.
I love it. And you're talking there about the hybrid policies, and these are something that I'm super, super curious about, right? Because no two offices are the same. Do you
No.
find when these people reach out to you, even at these early stage exploring the offices, do they already have policies in mind? Are these things that maybe come into play as they talk through their options with you? Because going back to your thing around the we need an office for 40 people, sometimes people want an office for 100 people, but as you say, they only need it for like realistically half of that, depending on the
Yeah.
utilization. So yeah, it'd be good to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it a lot of it kind of comes up organically. It's not just, that
Mm.
it depends as well, what sector they're from. So if you're an early stage startup, a lot of the founders that I would speak to, because they came from that sort of background, when you're building something, they very much are, we are building a team from the ground up. You're part of a founding team. So there's a lot more buy-in that you're part of that. There's nearly a
Mm.
partnership, sort of a unspoken strategy, but you have a very pivotal role to play because you're playing a lot of roles. So I
Of course.
suppose for them, they'd come in that we'd, be in 4 days a week. But we also offer our team flexibility, or on the other side, they could say, right, well, all the Irish team are in 4 days a week, but we also have to hire somebody, a tech guy in another
Mm.
jurisdiction, but he comes over once a month and we need a space for him, or he could be another founder in another country. Then you have the bigger occupiers, like in professional services, that, for them it's very important to have, sort of a nameplate, an iconic
Mm.
location to be in, because obviously that's, the sort of caliber of business that they are, and it's very important for them where, their business address is. But they might only be using it, kind of 3 days a week at present. But then there's other partners that say, listen, I'm happy to be in the office. I want to get back to normal. And it suits them and their working style. So it really can vary. But I suppose, it's always with them, you have to really dig deep to understand, A, what they do, what their team structure is, where they are now and where they want to be. So I think the hybrid policy is very agile. Everybody's, adapting it now, and what you set as your policy now could be very different in 12 months, could even be different in 6 months. And you have to,
Yeah.
I suppose it's not a static structure. It has to be
Mm.
reviewed. And, I think that comes a lot from, the top, it has to trickle from top down. So from the business owner all the way down to, their newest hire. You really have to, I suppose, work with your staff and kind of, I suppose, bridge a gap between what's going to work in terms of productivity and also, how you can also, for younger graduates or people just coming into the organization, starting their career, what is best for them if they need formal training or, they're a graduate starting off in their career and you're putting them with somebody else more senior. That's very much, you can't buy or you can't replicate that sort of informal training and on hand experience, from a digital point of view. So it really does depend. But I think what everybody is very much aligned in is that, how are we going to get the best from our teams? How do we work? And then also, how do we create that culture within the teams wherever people are working? And how do we all come together and be very aligned on our culture and our aims and objectives?
Now, the other thing is front of mind for me here. So that's fantastic. And again, the use of the word partnerships there as well. I love that. So you're there side by side with them, and it's not a one shoe fits all approach. As you say, it's making sure that the right office is there. When we're talking about those employees, then Alicia, right, we're coming back in. We're talking about the policies, right? So when we are looking at flex office providers, what sort of benefits do they offer when we're talking about employee satisfaction?
Yeah, so I think what they're doing is, they very much offer great spaces for people to thrive in. I think as well, the community side of it, they can plan, I suppose, what I nearly call like the extracurricular or the event side of things, that you're so busy when you're building your business, you don't have time to plan. And sometimes in some cases, they really do lean, and that is a huge thing for them if they don't have an office manager or a chief of staff, that they nearly play that kind of unofficial role. I think for them as well, it gives people, there's also this, idea floating around that they very much provide a very strong hospitality, outlook on people and how, people are looked after, whether that's, somebody coming in to meet you for the very first time, whether that's if you have a board coming in once a month, that, they also add to, I suppose, your business and your brand. And it's very much, you only get the chance to make a first impression once. So, it helps, and it helps them as well. It takes the pressure off. So they are, I suppose, very much looked after by their providers and vice versa. I think, there is a lot to learn, by being in these communities, because you learn a lot about other people within the building, different industries, and invariably Ireland, as you said there before we came on, it is a very small market, but we are very well connected and we do have an international reach. So as well, some of these providers can have locations in other jurisdictions, that they can tap into as well. So if they have a meeting, say, they're based in Dublin, but they might be, going to an event in London, that they have somewhere to tap into. They could have other staff, that they hired, in Germany. There's other places that they can work from. There might be a worldwide membership that they have, that it doesn't, they can get as close as to where they need to and have a space that they can call home and work from. That isn't going to be an issue. So I think as well, it gives them nearly like a global passport of where they can work from, and that helps them as well build on their business. I don't think there's any Irish business or, business operating in Ireland that doesn't have perspectives of growing. And, I think that is another great thing of being here is that you're really, we are a small country, but we are very well connected. So I think that's really another part of it. But I think it's very much a partnership between the two of, you're part of our community, we're part of yours. How do we help you? How can you help us run our business? So it is very much a hand in hand. It's not a one size fits all, transaction of we have you today. Retention is a huge thing for everybody, and making the move, whether it's your first office, your 10th office, there is a lot of legwork to be done, and you have to, you have to have a space that you want to go to and that your team wants to go to as well. So it has to really fit in with your brand culture and identity, and they very much work together in that sense.
I love it. And I was going to ask a question there more so around when we're talking about these big offices. Do you still get now flex office? We're going completely off script here, but do we still get requests for crazy things in offices like slides and all sorts at the moment, or has the request more simplified and people actually trying to create a bit more of an engaging environment through simpler tech? I don't know.
I think it depends. It depends on what kind of, are they in a disruptive industry? Are they in something new? Are they coming from I know they're, if they came from a building that they retrofitted themselves and things like that. I think the biggest thing is that gone are the days of very much, the 1980s and 1990s office
Yes.
that you walk in and it's nearly like a trading floor and there's cubicles
Yes.
here, there, that's what I call the maze. It's
Yes.
going every single corner. The idea of that is very much changing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants an open plan, single floor plate. A lot of people now as well, because like we are here, to be hop on a Zoom call. If you're sales, it's very much to figure out, right, well, our sales team works in this sort of a way. So how do we make, an environment to work for them? So you're not going to have, say, sales who are on calls all day long sit beside, web developers, because they're two
Mm.
very different types of people. So it's very much understanding the sector that you come from, the cultures that you want to sell into, but also at the same time, how do you create an office that is different to anybody else? So if that's in terms of the fit out and the design,
Mm.
some people say to me, I really like how X company, I used to work for them years and years ago, but
Mm.
this worked really well. I'd like to someday have that. And you build it in, or,
Yeah.
even in terms of their workflow, put meeting booths at the darker side of the office, because natural light is a big thing here in Ireland as well. Some people will say we want views, we'll
Yes.
want to be overlooking St. Stephen's Green. There's always what
Mm.
I call the wish list, and we
Yes, of
always,
course.
the wish list is one thing. I always say you need to give people the three options. You give them the top of the market, the
Mm.
middle, and then probably the lowest. So you have to understand their budget as well, and you really build it. You say, well, this is where we are today. Where do you guys want to be? And in 3 years' time, right, we're getting to the middle, and then, depending on where you guys go, I'm always hoping that they're going to have an amazing, business journey and growth, whether that's an acquisition
Yes.
by a massive multinational, or, they get a very big investor to come in. You have to be with them through all those stages of the growth. So whether it's from, 10 desks to 100 desks to 100,000 square foot, we very much hope that we will be with them through the whole pipeline of that journey. So they could be with me today, tomorrow, and they
Mm.
could be going to the traditional side in 3 to 5 years. It has to be very complementary, but within that, it comes down to, Shane, this yourself. It's all to do with the business
Mm.
relationships that you have and fostering them. You don't just do one deal and transaction and you say,
Yeah.
great to
That's
see
it.
you in that office. You have to check in with them, and you also
Yes.
take an interest in what they're doing. So you have to be very acutely aware, and as well to know that certain industries, are very popular at the moment. AI
Mm.
is a huge thing at the moment. Every kind of business, I suppose, has its cycle. And there are more popular ones that are growing, and they very much can, if they know they're going to be the leaders at the moment, they come with a whole
Mm.
different set of requirements to somebody else. So, yeah, I haven't seen any crazy requests, but I mean, listen, we're always open to having those sort of conversations, and you can't ever say no. It's just maybe it hasn't been invented yet, but
I
build it
love
and they shall come. That's what they say.
that. But I think it's interesting. A lot of conversations I have, people are talking about. It's funny you say like crushing the cubicle, right? Getting rid of the office. Like I've spoken to a couple of people in the market who are saying, well, we've actually asked our staff to stop calling it the office. They're calling it the collaboration zone. They're calling it the hub. So like I think, as you say, trying to transition away from that very 90s corporate of like, this is where we go to do our work, to now, oh, we're going in there to engage. And if that does involve then a big slide in the middle of the office, then maybe it's not a bad
Yeah.
thing. I don't
I
know.
think you nearly need to call it like workspace, or we need to find a
Mm.
new, I suppose, term. Listen, everybody can turn
Yes.
around and say flex office, serviced office,
Mm.
HQ, workspace, whatever it is to suit your business. But I think it's no longer a desk, a chair, and four
No.
walls, because it's changed so much. Everything has changed. We have evolved. Workplace has evolved. Even,
Yeah.
the generation of staff that you're hiring as well. And that's another thing. You need to understand the demographics. You
Mm.
know, are you hiring just for, or designing an office for today's staff that you have that may be a certain profile, but also how are
Yes.
we future planning for the next generation that need certain spaces to thrive in, and that you're really very much, I suppose you have to have a medium to long term vision. And with that, they're the best providers that will probably, win in terms of market share, but also as
Mm-hmm.
well, then it's easier for clients to really buy into that, and obviously, to make that investment, because, it is money, it is a lot of money, and it is a huge
Yeah.
spend for any business, whatever size that you are. You have to really make sure that, this is the right space for all of us, whatever the term length may be, and then hopefully grow from there on out.
I love it. And if anyone listening to the podcast today would like to learn more about Flex Spaces, Knight Frank, and all of the fantastic services you're offering, how would they reach out to you?
So they can obviously reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's where yourself and myself obviously match it. We also have our own website, so it's www.nightfrankflex.ie. Or else just go to our Night Frank Ireland website, and then you'll obviously see there'll be a drop down. But yeah, I'm always happy for anybody to drop me a message or an email. But yeah, we're always open to chat to anybody, any occupiers, whether they're foreign, domestic, and to see how we can find them the ideal desk solution.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing those insights, Alicia. It's been great to talk to you.
Thank you so much
Hopefully,
for having us.
look, we may have you back again sometime soon in the future, depending on how things go. But look, thank you so much. And for everyone listening, I appreciate you. Tune in next time. Thanks.